Good morning, my dear students. My name is Twayna. I am currently available at the Hamlet Tuition Center, Brahmatal, Kathmandu, and Kumudini Kunja Secondary School, Kalimati, Kathmandu. My dear students of grade 10, this is your science class, and in your science class, we have been studying about nervous system and glandular system, the second lesson from biology. In our previous class, we discussed about different parts of nervous system, and they are central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomic nervous system. And in today's class we are going to discuss about brain. Well, brain is a part of central nervous system. Brain is a part of central nervous system, and brain can be divided into three different parts. They are cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Well, cerebrum is the largest part of brain. In the diagram you can see the frontal lobe, temporal lobe, parietal lobe, and occipital lobe. Well, these are the parts of cerebrum. Okay, these are not different sections. This is one continuous part. Okay, this is one single brain. Okay, however, these parts, it is divided based on the bones of our skull. Yes, so this part, it lies below the frontal bone, that's why it is called frontal lobe. This part lies below the parietal bone, so it's called parietal lobe. This part lies beside the temporal bone, that's why it is called temporal lobe. And this part lies behind the occipital bone, that's why it is called occipital lobe. So although they are named differently, this is altogether this is cerebrum. Okay, and here you can see this much part. Well, this much part, this is cerebellum. This much part is cerebellum, and this part you can see it is brainstem. And brainstem is also divided into three parts. First of all, midbrain. Okay, midbrain cannot be seen in the diagram. Midbrain lies behind temporal lobe. Okay, and then here you can see pons spirally, and then medulla oblongata, and below medulla oblongata brainstem continues as spinal cord. Okay, so these are the parts of brain: cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Okay, let us discuss their function one by one. First of all, cerebrum. And cerebrum basically functions as our intelligence section. Okay, all the functions related to intelligence is performed by cerebrum. Okay, like understanding concept, yes, gaining senses, analyzing information, and making decision, imagination, dreaming, giving reasons, okay, finding solutions to a particular problem. All these things which are related to cognition or which are related to our intelligence, these are performed by cerebrum as well. Now let's see their function by different lobe. The frontal lobe of cerebrum performs problem solving. Problem solving means you got some problem, you need to solve that problem. For that purpose you need to memorize different actions that are taken in the particular problem in past, and then you need to memorize which action gave the best result. Yes, and based on this information your brain will decide what should be done, or how should I solve this problem, how should I react in this particular situation. Okay, for example, let's say you are a police officer, and you are going to catch a thief. Yes, and the thief entered into a narrow lane. What would you do? You cannot decide. What would you do? But if it was your first time, suppose it was your first time, you decided to chase the thief through the narrow lane, and once you entered in that narrow lane, it so happens that Wi-Fi signal or a radio signal is not working, you cannot call for backup. Yes, and it is very dark in there. You do not have any torch light, or you do not have any sort of light, and you became afraid that the friends of thieves, the gang of thieves, they might just surround you and they might beat you up or even kill you. Yes, and out of that fear, you just got out of the lane, you gave up the chasing. Yes, and next time, in second time, when similar situation arrived, what would you do? Would you simply chase him through the lane? No, you wouldn't. Okay, you wouldn't. What you do, you would call for backup. You'd call for backup and you would check the map where that lane will open up, and you will keep a backup force at the opening point of that lane, and once it is done, then only you would go in the lane with the backup force. You would not go alone, isn't it? Well, that is problem solving. Just like that, to solve any problem, you must have faced the same situation before, or you must have heard about such situation from someone else, or you must have read about such situation in somewhere else. Okay, and whatever you know by reading, whatever you know by hearing, will also be imparted as the memory. Yes, for example, if a tiger sees you, the tiger will eat you. Have you been in that situation? No, but still you know it. You know it. You haven't been in that situation, but still you know it. How do you know it? You know it by hearing others or reading somewhere, or even seeing videos in YouTube or in many sources. You don't have to face the situation yourself to know something. You can know by reading, you can know by listening, you can know by many other ways. But by whatever ways you get information, these informations are stored by the brain and they will be retrieved whenever it is necessary. Okay, that was problem solving. Now let's go to the next point. See, emotions. You might be happy about some news, you might be sad, you might feel depressed, or you might feel exaggerated, you might feel excited, or you might feel lazy. All of these emotions, they are also controlled by the frontal lobe of our cerebrum or of our brain. And then reasoning and judgment, well, based on past experiment or based on past experience or based on other facts, you can give reason why it is good, why it is bad, yes, or why it is right, why it is wrong, what should be done, what should not be done, what is moral, what is immoral. Yes, all of these reasonings are also done by frontal lobe. And then speech. Right now I am speaking, means I am using my frontal lobe a lot. Okay, speech is also controlled by frontal lobe. That's why you should you noticed it or not, those people who cannot speak, because of defect in brain, these people, they cannot think well, they cannot solve problem, they cannot be very reasonable. Those people who cannot speak. If a person cannot speak because of his tongue, then that's not the case. Okay, then his brain is perfect. But his tongue is perfect, his vocal cord is perfect, and yet he cannot speak. That means there is some problem in his frontal lobe. And if the frontal lobe has such problem, then the person cannot solve problems very well. The person cannot learn anything very well, or the person cannot make any judgment or reasons, because this speech is also related to that same part. Okay. And next one, voluntary muscle movement. You move any part of your body by your will, like you can move your legs and hands and head and your back. Yes, you can move them as per your will, and all of these muscles which are moved as per your will, they are controlled by the frontal lobe. Okay. And next one, temporal lobe. Temporal lobe, it is mainly associated to learning of language. See, language capture or learning of language, behavior, memory, hearing, and listening. Okay. So our conduct, some people may have good behavior, some people may have bad behavior. Well, these are also controlled partly by our brain. Okay. And it is this part of brain that learns various attitudes. Okay, this part of brain learns various attitudes. If a child is grown up in a violent environment, then the child also learns violent behavior. If a child is grown up in loving environment, then the child will become gentle and loving. Yes, so all these behavior traits, they are learned and showed by temporal lobe. Okay, the temporal lobe also learns language. Okay, so it also retains the memory. Okay, so you can say temporal lobe is mainly associated with learning. Okay, frontal lobe is associated with expressing. Okay, expressing, and temporal lobe is related with learning. Okay, that is why whenever someone urges you to think, someone urges you to learn, they always point to your temporal lobe. Just know that. Okay. Okay, next one is parietal lobe. Well, parietal lobe distinguishes right and left. You know, you can differentiate between right and left, the sides. Yes, that is done by parietal lobe, and it also is related to sensation of hearing, taste, and smell. Most of the hearing is performed by temporal lobe. Okay, however, some part of parietal lobe is also related to hearing, and mostly parietal lobe is responsible for detecting chemical substances by taste and smell. Okay, they detect chemical indicators. Okay, and reading parietal lobe is related to reading. Okay, that is why some people learn faster by reading, some people learn faster by listening, and some people learn faster by vision, by watching. Okay, that is related to which part of your brain is more active. If parietal lobe of your brain is more active, then you learn by reading. If your occipital lobe is more active, then you learn by vision. And if your temporal lobe is more active, then you learn by listening. Okay, and whichever part is involved in learning, the result, the information is always used by frontal lobe. Okay, so parietal lobe, another function related to parietal lobe is body orientation. How your body is kept. Are you sleeping, or do you want to sleep? Do you want to stand? Do you want to run? Do you want to walk? That is decided by your parietal lobe. Okay, and next one is occipital lobe. Occipital lobe is mainly related to vision and color perception. Well, occipital lobe receives the nerve from eyes. While studying eyes in grade 9, you must have remembered that optic nerves, they emerge out of the eye, isn't it? Out of the eyeball, and these optic nerves are supplied to occipital lobe of brain. So your eyes are just your windows. You will see from back of your head. You do not see from your eyes, but you do see from back of your head. Okay, these are the overall function of cerebrum. Yes, now come to cerebellum. Cerebellum helps in balancing of the body. Cerebellum is associated to our muscles. Okay, it is associated to our muscles. When we consciously balance our body, frontal lobe is associated. But when we unconsciously balance our body, cerebellum is associated. Like if we are standing, then some muscles of our body need to relax, some muscles of our body they need to contract, and we do not think about it while standing. We do not think that I am standing. Do we think like that? No, we do not need to think. We simply stand. If our cerebellum is not working, suppose if our cerebellum is not working, in that case, just to stand, even to stand, you must be thinking, I am standing, I need to stand. You must be thinking. And the moment you stop thinking that I am standing, you will fall. Yes, if cerebellum is not acting, but that is not the case. Yes, your body balances on its own. Whether you are standing or you are sitting, whatever you are doing, your body balances on its own. Okay, that function is performed by cerebellum, and cerebellum also needs learning. Okay, and that is known as practice. Cerebellum also needs learning, and that is known as practice. Okay, so the main function of cerebellum is balance of the body and coordination and control of movement and fine muscle control. Well, any confusion up here? Okay, so last part of the brain is the brain stem. Okay, brain stem is associated with very important functions in our body, the vital functions without which we cannot live. Okay, so cerebrum and cerebellum, they are associated with judgment, learning, and intelligence. Yes, judgment, learning, and intelligence. These functions are needed for tackling external problems, but we have internal problems as well. If our heart stops, we will die. Yes, if a tiger attacks, we will die. In that case, how to tackle that situation? Cerebrum and cerebellum will decide. But if our heart stops, then also we die. That is internal situation. And who tackles that problem? That problem is tackled by brainstem. If we stop breathing, then also we die. That is also controlled by brainstem. We do not need to think to breathe. Yes, we do not need to think to breathe. It happens automatically. Even when you are unconscious, even when you are sleeping, you are breathing. Okay, that is because breathing is controlled by brainstem. When you sleep, when you fall asleep, cerebrum and cerebellum are shut down temporarily, but brainstem, they never shut down. Until you die, brainstem never shut down. Okay, so various vital functions like your heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, control of blood pressure, digestion of food, okay, and formation of urine, all of these functions, they are controlled by brain stem. Okay, so you can say brain stem is the most important part of our brain. See, in brain stem, midbrain, I told you midbrain cannot be seen viewed in the diagram. Midbrain controls swallowing and facial expression. While swallowing, once you take the food back of your mouth, you don't need to do anything. Yes, your body will swallow it automatically. Okay, you just have to use your tongue to move the food back of your mouth. Okay, once it is taken back of the mouth, then it will be swallowed automatically. Okay, and then your facial expression, you feel sad, isn't it? You feel sad, you feel happy. All of these things are controlled by frontal lobe. But when you feel sad, your face becomes different, isn't it? Let me show. Okay, you can look at this different picture. This is a picture of sad face, this is picture of happy face, this is amazement, and this is disappointment. Yes, all those feelings are controlled by cerebrum, the frontal lobe. But what controls the facial expression? What controls the facial expression? It is the midbrain. If your midbrain is not functioning, then you might be sad, you might be happy, you might be amazed, or you might be disappointed, but you cannot show them with your face. Okay, your face will just be non-expressive. There won't be any expression in your face. Okay, if your midbrain is not functioning. Okay. Okay, next part, you can see breathing. Breathing is controlled by midbrain, and particularly the part pons varolii controls breathing. Okay, breathing, श्वास लिनु, not bacha jamanu. Okay, pons variously controls breathing, and your heartbeat is controlled by medulla oblongata. This is medulla oblongata. Okay, digestion of food is also controlled by brainstem, and your alertness or your sleep is also mediated by brainstem. It is your brainstem that tells your cerebrum and cerebellum to stay alert or to sleep. If your brainstem does not want you to sleep, then even though you want to sleep, you cannot sleep. Even though you try to sleep, you cannot sleep. Sleep does not come to you. Or if your brainstem does not want you to stay alert, then whatever you try, you will never make it. You will always fall asleep. So whether you remain asleep or you remain alert, that is controlled by brainstem. Brainstem tells you when to sleep and when to stay alert. Okay, understood? Any confusion up here? Okay, so now you can pause the screen and you can copy the diagram, write all these notes. It will be easier for you to understand, although we are going to take detailed notes as well. Okay, look at this slide. This slide depicts the function of cerebrum in detail. Well, cerebrum is the largest part of brain. It occupies 80% volume inside the cranium. And major functions of cerebrum is cognitive function. First one, cognitive function. Cognitive means cognition, which happens automatically. Cognition, or which happens automatically. And it includes these things: the receiving and storing information. You receive information, you store information, that is done by cerebrum. And after you receive information, they need to be memorized for future reference, that is done by cerebrum. Okay, and whatever information you receive, they must be processed and analyzed and criticized, that is done by cerebrum. Whether the information you received is useful or not, okay, whether it is correct or not, okay, when will it be useful, all those things, they are performed by cerebrum. And then it also does imagination. Yes, imagination is very powerful tool. You can still be in your room, but you can travel to far away world. You can travel to moon, you can travel to sun and all the universe through imagination. Imagination is very powerful. Okay, second function is sensory function. Sensory means to get sensation. Like you get vision through your eyes, you get sound or hearing through your ears, you get smell through your nose, you get taste through your tongue, and you get feeling of thoughts, or feeling of hotness or coldness, or feeling of pain through your skin. Okay, all these feelings, all these sensations are actually received by cerebrum. Okay, if your cerebrum is not functioning, then you cannot get any of these senses. Okay, and then emotional function. The cerebrum is responsible for various emotions such as love, hatred, disappointment, anger, laughter, happiness, excitement, etc. Speech function. The cerebrum is responsible for elaborate speech of human. You see, it is only human who can manipulate their sound, manipulate the sound produced by them into different speech. Yes, other animals cannot do that. To do that, you need extensive network of brain. You need extensive brain. Okay, and in case of human, cerebrum is highly developed. Okay, you can see cerebrum is responsible for intelligence, cerebellum is responsible for balance. That is why we human have larger cerebrum. We are more intelligent, but we have smaller cerebellum. That's why we cannot run very fast, we cannot climb tree effectively, we cannot swim like other animals. Okay, we cannot perform acrobat without extensive training. Yes, but monkey does that. Monkey does acrobat without any training, isn't it? With just few practicing. Monkeys climb tree very well. They can balance themselves on a wire as well. Yes, and birds can fly. While flying also they need a lot of balancing. So all these animals have larger cerebellum, they have smaller cerebrum. That's why most of the animals, they don't have voice. Okay, they don't have speech because they have lesser developed cerebellum, cerebrum. they have lesser developed cerebrum. But we human cannot perform physical wonders because we have lesser developed cerebrum. Okay. Okay. Next function is motor. Okay. Speech function. Let's read it. The cerebrum is responsible for elaborate speech of human. It coordinates the muscles of chest, ribs, vocal cord, tongue, cheek, and lips with exhalation to produce different sound. Just notice when you are speaking, your lungs are throwing air outside. Try to speak with inhalation. You cannot do that. You can speak only with exhalation. That's why if you speak for a long time, you feel fatigue in your chest. You feel out of breath. Okay. So if your tongues and lips, they do not manipulate the sound, all the sound produced by our lung will be just ha, ha. And if you move your lips and your tongue in different way, then that sound will be converted into other forms like ka, kha, a, b. You can see, without moving tongue, without moving lips, try to say your name. Like try to say my name is dash dash dash. Try to say that without moving your tongue, without moving your lips. It will be something like okay, just that much. Okay, anyway, next function is motor function. Motor means movement. Cerebrum coordinates contraction and relaxation of voluntary muscles with such as arms, thighs, back, flanks, etc. Okay, with this movement, with this contraction and relaxation of muscle, with this muscle coordinates, we can move as we want. Okay, copy this. If not finished, pause the screen and copy it. Okay, second one is cerebellum. Cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain. It lies just below the posterior portion of cerebrum. Posterior means pachadiko. Cerebrum ko pachadiko part ko muni huncha hai. And the function of cerebellum, it mainly is responsible for coordination of voluntary muscles in our body. Although it controls voluntary muscles, if we are doing that, if we are controlling voluntary muscles with our consciousness, then it is being done by cerebrum. But if it is done in our unconsciousness, without our consciousness, then that is cerebellum. Cerebellum is doing that. Okay, and it is linked to learning with practice and making habit. If you practice a lot with badminton, then whenever you see a cock coming, you don't need to think where to hit. Your hands will automatically go there. Your legs will automatically be lifted to meet it. You don't need to think it very much. Okay, in table tennis also same thing happens. Your brain seems to be working very fast without your knowledge. Okay, you only need to see the ball, tennis ball, and your body will move on its own. That is done by cerebellum. And cerebellum does that with practice, a lot of practice and making habit. Secondly, cerebellum unconsciously balances the body and posture that it learns during the early ages. Well, when you are a small kid, you could not stand because you do not know which muscles should be stretched, which muscles should be relaxed. Yes, to stand. You did not know that. That's why you could not stand. But by hit and trial method, that means by stretching and relaxing different sets of muscles, you will try to stand up. Yes, and when your brain learns which part of muscles should be stretched, which part of muscles should be relaxed in order to stand, then it is learned by cerebellum. And once cerebellum learns that, you do not need to think for standing. You will stand automatically. You will stand without any effort. Okay, so that is because cerebellum does that. Yes, cerebrum learns, and whatever is learned by cerebrum is passed to cerebellum, and that's how at first you will need a lot of practice, but later on you don't need any effort to do that. Like riding a bicycle as well. At the beginning you will need a lot of practice, yes, to balance your bike, isn't it? But after you had enough practice, then you can ride bicycle by leaving both of your hands from handle, isn't it? Okay, so cerebellum, it balances the body and posture. And next one, cerebellum controls rapid muscular activities such as typing, running, horse riding, driving, athletics, talking, etc. In all of these things, muscular activities are very fast. Your muscles need to coordinate very fast. If the cerebrum only has to do it, then it is very tiring for your brain, isn't it? But since cerebellum learns that, these things happen automatically. Okay, that is why at the beginning, while you are learning to type, your typing speed might be 5 WPM, that means 5 words per minute. It might take 1 minute for you to type 5 words, but after extensive typing, when the cerebellum learns how to type, then your speed will reach up to 60 WPM or 72 WPM, that is 72 word per minute, 60 word per minute. See the speed that happens because cerebellum learns that. Until cerebellum learns to type, your typing speed will be slow. And cerebellum cannot learn on its own. Cerebrum learns, and cerebrum transfers that knowledge to cerebellum. Understood? Okay, next one is medulla oblongata. This is the last topic for today. Medulla oblongata is the lower part of brainstem. It lies just above the spinal cord. And the functions of medulla oblongata, well, I must tell you, medulla oblongata is a part of brainstem. Yes, the functions are: it coordinates involuntary vital actions such as heartbeat, breathing, swallowing, sneezing, vomiting, salivation, etc. It helps passage of food through alimentary canal through peristalsis. This means swallowing food. Okay, peristalsis is the action which swallows the food, and that happens automatically. You don't need to control it. And third one, it controls blood pressure as per necessary by dilation or contraction of blood vessels. Okay, if your blood pressure needs to be high, medulla oblongata contracts your blood vessels. If your blood pressure needs to be low, medulla oblongata dilates your blood vessels. Yes, and last one, it acts as a link between brain and spinal cord. It is the bridge between brain and the spinal cord. Okay, any question up to that? If you have any question, please feel free to ask me through the comment or through messenger, or you can even message me in Viber, or you can call me as well if you have any questions regarding these topics. Okay, this much for today. We'll see you in our next class. Thank you, class.